Jason says, I'm interested in starting a few lead gen sites. I'm just doing keyword research right now, but wondering how to decide what business or contractor I'll give the leads to when I start getting them. Do you guys have a process for determining one business or contractor? Do you give several of them a taste in hopes that you'll get a buyer? Is it best to give the leads away for a few months and then shut it off and contact them to see if they'd like to continue? All right, I've tried multiple ways, Jason, and I'm glad Angel's on because Angel does a lot of lead gen too. I'd like to get his opinion. But over the course of my career, I've done it multiple ways. And what I found to be the easiest is to set up a prospecting funnel. For me, that's always been the easiest, which is to set up like a landing page with a video. It can be like a VSL type video, a video sales letter, which is basically just a PowerPoint slide with text on it, right? And then I narrate it, and I just state the benefits or what I've got. I show examples in the video, and I make it as short a video as possible. Usually it ends up running between 3 to 5 minutes, where I just explain, hey, look, I've got these leads. I show in the video like the Google search results with my property being ranked. And then I show maybe the call volume coming in or maybe emails if they filled out the contact form submit or contact request form, excuse me, like the leads that actually submitted. So usually after I have the results, I can show those results in a video for that specific city or town. And then all I'll do is just do a cold email campaign to all the contractors in that specific industry in that specific city. And then I make sure that they're all aware. Like I don't even blind carbon copy. Like I do like a straight up, everybody sees their competitors' emails in the actual email that I send out to those contractors so that they know it's being sent out. And it says it right in the damn email. Like this is being sent out, the first person, and a lot of the time I've done it both ways where I've said the first person that replies. And sometimes you get some good responses from that. But the more recently, the way that I've done it is actually setting up on the landing page just a Google form that they have to fill out with just some very basic info that asks them, so that I tell them that they're going to go through a slight screening process or whatever. And the reason why I do that is because I don't like to just give the leads to just the first contractor. I need to vet them, because if it's going to be my web property, my digital asset that's producing the leads, I don't want some jackass contractor out there servicing the leads and then screwing it up and getting negative reviews put on my digital asset, if that makes sense. So I've learned over the years to put some sort of screening procedure in place. And that usually just typically just having somebody fill out a web form, don't make it too complicated, because otherwise you'll lose a lot of leads from that as far as potential service providers. But you do want them to take that extra little step, because that'll eliminate some tire kickers right off the bat, because they'll look at the form and say, I'm not filling that out, and they'll just move on. Okay, so be it. You weren't interested enough anyways. They would have been a shitty service provider, right? So, but by just doing something small like that, and then you can actually, by then it's not a cold call. Then you return the calls of people that have expressed an interest, and it's a much different type of conversation, because the whole psychology changes when they've raised their hand and said, yes, I'm interested, than you just pitching them cold, if that makes sense. And so I found that to be a much easier way. And that's only because I personally hate cold calling guys. And when I first got my start in lead gen business, that's how I did it. I would just start picking up the phone and calling contractors and telling them what I had. But you get a lot of rejection, and that'll crush your ego fast. Unless you've got a heart of steel, which I don't, apparently, because I don't like getting rejected over and over again on the phone. So I just don't like cold calling, and I try to do as many warm-up processes with a prospect. I try to warm them up as much as possible before I ever get on the phone with them. So that's worked really well for me. I know it may sound complicated, but it's really not. As far as setting up a prospecting funnel, it's rather simple to do, because it's just when I say a funnel, it seriously is just a landing page with a video and a Google form. It can be done on WordPress, right? And you just send people directly to that page from your email. Okay. And if you've ever taken our video email course, our video email prospecting course, that's also a great way to do it. And in that course, that's inside of SerpSpace, by the way. I can't remember if you got to purchase it or if it's free. It's also on our bonus site, the Mastery PR and Semantic Mastery bonus site. If you don't have access to that, Jason, but you've bought any of our products in the past, just contact us at support@semanticmastery.com, and we'll get you access to the bonus site. And there's a video email prospecting course in there that discusses both ways. There's a laser approach, which is targeting individual, prospects with a video email. I don't recommend doing that because it's very time consuming. It's super effective, but it's very time consuming. So what I like to do is create more of a general email, prospecting email, video email. A more general prospecting video email that then I mass send out to all of the contractors in that city. And again, I don't blind carbon copy or anything. I make sure that they see that that same email went to 14 or 15 other, however many other contractors, so that it creates that level of that sense of urgency on their part to reply. So what do you think, Angel?
I think that's an interesting approach. I actually take a slightly different approach because my background, like before I did any internet marketing, I was actually a door-to-door salesman. So I'm used to getting a bunch of no's.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys know Mike Pierce. We've done a ton of work together, but I was the guy who was hitting up the phones straight up, hitting up companies and trying to get them to purchase leads from us. So the way I did the research was I looked at the reputation online. So let's say we're looking for roof repair contractors in the Dallas area. So I'm going to look at the rep online. I'm going to look at their reviews, just overall generic, Yellow Pages, BBB, just all their ratings overall. And if they seem like a good company, good prospect, then I'm going to pick up the call and just dial them in.
There you go.
And what I'm going to tell them is I have a current provider who has excess leads, and we're looking to, bring on another provider who can take these phone calls. Are you interested? So I make it seem to them that, that we're generating a ton of leads, which we are, and we have extra excess leads if they're interested in taking those calls on. So a lot of times, you might get those people that say, no, they're not interested, or the price is out of whack. They don't want to pay $30 a lead or whatever the case is, but you're still going to get a handful of people that are interested. And this is where we give them a test trial, where we might send them a few leads in a few day span and just see how they convert on those leads. If it's a good quality lead to them, they're going to want to stay on board with you.
Yep.
So, to answer Jason's question, I would definitely look on just taking on more than one contractor or one service provider. Just to, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to, calculate your risk pretty much.
Yeah.
So the more the better. If you have 5, you're good, because out of those 5, you're going to have one solid provider who you'll have a long-term relationship with.
Yeah, I like your approach, picking up the phone and calling, because that is certainly the quickest way to get results. There's no doubt. But I can't stand that call. Like, I just get all nervous and my butterflies in my stomach and shit.
Yeah, and I hear you, man.
I've been through it so many times. I just realized I don't want to do that anymore. So I prefer to do like the funnel type method. And what's interesting about that is if you do a good job on the prospecting side, then you end up with several contractors that have filled out that Google form, and you end up interviewing several of them. So you end up with multiple providers, potential providers anyway. So that if you end up, like personally, I usually just select one and I give them a chance. If they screw up or they don't convert well, the leads into sales, or they, whatever the case may be, they just end up not being a good fit, then I'll just, cancel them and move on to the next contractor. But obviously, my preferred method, and I mentioned this before, is once I find a good service provider and I've built a rapport with them and they have a history of performing well and we work well together, then I like to always try to shift over to a revenue share model, because that's where like the bulk of the money comes from my lead gen businesses, is from revenue share, not from actual pay per lead type stuff. And I really like that, but that does take a much higher level of trust, a much higher or more trusting relationship, I should say, with your service provider. So that takes some time to get to that level. But anybody else want to comment on that before I move on?
I've got a slightly different approach.
Okay.
It's kind of between the two. So I don't know if anybody's heard of like Ring Partner or any of those call buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'll get in with them and rank my site when I'm first starting and send just the first few calls to them. And then after I've built up maybe a month or two of calls, I'll literally just take a screenshot of the number of calls I've got over the last couple months, put that in the email to several providers. And once you have the calls, it's pretty much, do you want to buy these? Yes or no?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, it takes a little bit of the, getting a contractor and then having to worry about getting the number of calls. I kind of build up an asset where it's already generating calls, send it to like a cheap Ring partner, and then transition into the sales side once I have a month or two of calls. And then you can even, if you're doing the whisper record, you can send them a couple of the recordings.
Yep.
Makes it much easier to sell.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what I do with the little prospecting funnel, the landing page and the video, because I'll show them like the call fire dashboard with a with a screenshot of the volume of calls that have come in and the duration, so that they see their valid calls, that kind of stuff. And then typically I always send all my calls through a call center anyways. So I will even set up a a sub account in Answer Connect, which is the call center that I use for all my lead gen stuff. And I'll set that up so they'll actually take valid leads. And I like your approach, Rob. I haven't done that, to be honest with you. I've literally done this dozens of times over the last several years, where I'll just generate the leads, and sometimes the leads they go cold because they don't have somebody as a service provider. But I don't care for the first month or two, because all I'm trying to do is just show that call volume coming in. And then, but yeah, I like your approach. That's something I ought to do, because then you're monetizing even those first dozen or so leads or whatever they are that's coming through. So that's a good.
Yeah,
good
I mean the monetization's weak, because you get a lot of hangups because they go through all these voice recordings saying put your zip code in, all this stuff. But at least the lead, if they go through the steps, they're going to get to the provider they were looking for.
That's right.
Or at least the service, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I've noticed whenever I start a new lead gen site, I tend to get a bunch of SEO companies calling my phone number. So then they end up by a month or two, they're done calling. So those don't get sent to the provider.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I use a call center, exactly for that reason, by the way, because it prevents all those spam calls from ever getting to the contractor. So.
Hey, Rob, I also do that quite a bit with sending calls to like Ring Partner or Paylo. Do you ever experience the companies just hanging up and dialing back those leads that you're sending in? Like they just cheat you out of the money?
Yes, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I'll call my own number to see what's going on, and I've even called them back and called them out on it.
Wow.
And a lot of times, Ring Partner and them don't even know what's going on. It's another provider that's basically tagging the number and then calling them back or hitting them with a text autoresponder and all that kind of stuff. Of course, here's the other way to work around that, Angel. If you get called back by the provider, then you just sell him the leads you're getting ready to sell to Ring Partner at a markup.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going direct at that point. Those are the people that are buying the leads.
Exactly. One guy called me. I said, "So you're looking for this lead? You just happened to call me back, and I was sending the lead to you. Let's cut out this middle guy, and I'll charge you a little more than what they were paying me, and less than what you were paying them." So yeah, I've played it that way too.
That's awesome.